This is SaaS Therapy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of SaaS Therapy, the show where we help you save your most important business relationships, your customers. I'm your host, Todd Kirk. I'm joined by my ever-present co-host, Casey Trujillo, and today we are joined by a really, really great guest. Super pumped to have Lincoln Murphy join us today. He's currently the VP of Customer Experience at ListKit, Gainsight alumni, and the inventor of the customer success mantra, right? So we're super glad to have Lincoln on with us. Hey, man, welcome to SaaS Therapy.
Oh, thanks so much. I like to say that I invented customer success because everybody else says it. So I'm going to go ahead and say it too.
That's right. Plant that flag.
I honestly think I can't really prove this, but I honestly think I was the first person to capitalize the C and the S to change it from a generic to a proper noun.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Hey,
grammar
I
matters.
dig that.
Okay.
And, and Lincoln, just so you know about me, like, there's no way I am smart enough to invent customer success. Out of all the inventions that have been in my lifetime, I think I could have invented the straw. I think I could have got that one, but most other ones are outside of my scope and ability.
I'm not trying to say that you couldn't do that, but I mean, let's not downplay the engineering feat that is a hole that you can move around.
There it is. That's right.
So I'm just saying. No shade, bro. But
so Lincoln, thank you for spending some time on podcast today. Just to give people a little bit of background, if you go find Lincoln on LinkedIn, something over 30,000, almost 40,000 followers. Like you said, Lincoln's been in the space for some time. You have this little document on your LinkedIn that says, "Hey, down this little slow case study, I can help you generate 1.6 million in upsells in less than 90 days. And I love this little line you say, "Hey, results not typical, but they should be." Lincoln, describe a little bit why you're an expert around this and kind of maybe introduce our topic for today so people know what we're going to be chatting about.
Yeah. Okay. So expansion or upselling is one of those things that should be, I don't want to say easy, but like it should just happen because we have customers that are in theory being successful. And so they should buy more from us. One of the things I talk about with customer success is the reason we do customer success is to get our customers to stay longer, of course, so they don't churn, but it's also to get them to buy more. Also, and to get them to advocate for us. But the part about buying more is something that a lot of companies, either they go about it the wrong way. So I'll tie this back to your question. I'll get there some point. They either go about it the wrong way or they just kind of hope it happens, right? I hope that our customers that are successful reach out to us and want to buy something more from us. Okay, that's cool. I hope they do too. I'm not gonna like rely on that. I want to build this into the process. And I think one of the first things people have to understand is that expansion, if you look at what customer success is, it's our customers being successful. If you look at it literally as that, then expansion is going to be the natural progression for at least some subset of our customers. Simply by being successful, they're going to need to consume more from us. They're going to need our additional services, our add-ons, additional capacity, whatever. If we think of it as something extra, then we overcomplicate it. We put up artificial barriers. If instead we think of it as the natural progression, you get customers to come in and you put them on an ascension path, then we can build that into the life cycle, the workflow, like however you want to look at it. Like a customer comes in, they move through progress milestones. Some of those progress milestones are going to have an associated expansion opportunity. If we just recognize that, then we can orchestrate this ahead of time and we can plan to get them to that progress milestone. So when they get there, we can say, "Hey, you just did this thing. How about adding this to your account?" And by the way, do you remember when we already talked about that earlier? So it's like not out of the blue. It's not a sales conversation. It's just like, we already talked about this thing. When you hit this milestone, it was the most logical next step. Well, you've hit that milestone. So it's a process. And if you build that into it, you really can unlock. And people tell me I'm being hyperbolic, and I just don't understand why they would say that I'm so hyperbolic. But, maybe a little bit over the top, but they say I'm being kind of crazy with that stuff. I'm like, no, you literally could go from incremental growth in account value to exponential growth in account value. We're talking double, triple the value of an account, and in a relatively short amount of time if we do this right. Now, like I said, in that PDF that you can get off of my LinkedIn profile, results are not typical, but they absolutely should be, because if we do this right, if we understand the customer's progression, we understand what that actual progression looks like. It's not just the use of our product, it's the progression of them in their business through the use of our product. Then we know what we can position for them to get them to take the appropriate action, which at some point might be buying more from us. So anyway, I'm not going to say I'm the expert on this. I'm probably the person that talks about expansion more than anybody else. Like, it's just not something that's talked about a lot. And it should be. I mean, like, our customers are like a gold mine. And that's not, by the way, being greedy. Our customers want to do more business with us. They need more things from us. A lot of the customers that outgrow us, well, they wouldn't have if they knew we had this additional product or this add-on or whatever, but we didn't put it in front of them at the right time. So they found a competitor that had that. Right. So anyway, I didn't mean to take 7 minutes to answer your one question, but
we're in for a treat if we get that every time. Lincoln,
I have mismanaged expectations.
Oh, it's great, man. One of the things that I think, so I hear this a lot, or I have heard from a lot of the SaaS leaders that we talk to in the customer success space. There's an expectation now for people in CS to not just try to help with education and training and support and making sure the customer feels happy and that like they've got a friend and a relationship, but to actually drive to business outcomes through renewal and expansion. And so I am starting to see more of that, which I think is a good sign. Mm-hmm. What I worry about, and this is just a reaction that I've seen recently, is that when you think about why customers either churn or why they fail to grow and expand with the customer or with you as a customer, like, what are the biggest drivers for that? Because I can see it hitting a couple of different places, right? Maybe it's a perception of a product deficit. Maybe it's perception that your pricing model doesn't grow with them, so they don't want to get penalized for succeeding with you. Maybe it's a worry that that they are going to invest in a technology that's going to be displaced by something in the future. Like AI is a really big issue that's causing people to be really slow and making deeper investments in traditional technology. So like, there's this thing of like, we got to make it happen. We got to make it happen. But I worry a lot that most CSMs are feeling that they're fighting these headwinds with things that maybe they feel are outside their control. Like I can't convince the CRO to change the pricing model of the product, as an example, or I can't convince the head of product to build out this new feature so that we don't lose them to the competitor who already has it. So how do you tackle that specific problem? And maybe that's too hard to tackle, but you're the king of hyperbole. I believe in you.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, that's what I want. I just need that validation. So, yeah. So if I could just answer that so concisely, like, it would pretty much solve all of everybody's problems. But there's a lot of stuff going on in what you just brought up. So one of the things, so we have a whole list of company values that we live by at ListKit, and one of the things is control the controllables. Mm-hmm. There are a lot more things that are in our control in customer success than we think. We also have to be realistic. There are a lot of things that are outside of our control that we try to control that we just can't. So you have to be realistic about which of those are actually in your control and which are not. So that's and it sounds so simple, but if you're spending a lot of your time over on these things that are outside of your control, what we call low percentage activities, things that you're not going to be able to have much of an impact on, that's time and effort and energy and money and whatever other resources not spent on the things that are actually within your control. So that's kind of number one, is like, figure out what the controllables are, because if you don't know that, pretty much anything else, it's just not going to work. So like, as a CSM, as an individual contributor, what's in your control? As a head of customer success, what's in your control? And yeah, you know what? Product, not necessarily in our control. So if we're working with a broken product, or we're working with a product that doesn't have the things that we need it to have. It might not be broken, but it's just maybe there's features or functionality that's missing. What can you do? Well, right now you said AI is causing a lot of people to make different decisions than they might have without it. But on the flip side, we can be using AI to eat a lot of the complexity that our customers generally have to do on their own. That's another thing, how can we eat the customer's complexity? If the product has limitations, in the past, we might have tried to build some training or walk them through how to do this thing in the product. Can I build a GPT or a Claude artifact or even something in like Lovable that just does it? Like they can do it themselves, or I can do it for them and basically just give them the output that then they maybe put into the product or whatever. Like, how can we get closer to doing the work for the customer? That can go a long way in bridging any gaps there in terms of like value realization. And the customer feels like, okay, cool. I thought there was a limitation. I started looking at other products because I thought I couldn't do this with your product. Well, customer success comes in with a tool and says, here, let's just do this for you. We can't always do all the work, but we can probably get closer to doing the work for the customer than we ever could before. In fact, that was one of the refrains for so long in customer success is, gosh, wouldn't it be cool if we could just do it for them? Like that'd be great, because then we wouldn't have to try to teach them how to do it. And the reality is, if you think about customer success, think about what we've been doing for the last, 120 years, feels like. What have we been doing? We've been trying to operationalize around getting our customers to do things that they don't really want to do, they can't do, they have no desire to do, they're unwilling to do, which are all those are kind of the same things. Or that even if they did want to do it, they couldn't get to the level of expertise required to get the results that they need from our product. That's kind of what we've been doing in customer success. And it's kind of insane if you think about it. Like, that's a big ask, right? That's a heavy ask. Is like, even if the customer was totally willing to do everything that they needed to do, what are the chances that they level up to the point where they could really be an expert in doing the things that they need to do? So it's like, okay, what can we do to like take a lot of that heavy lifting off their plate? And in the past, it was like, well, we had to wait for engineering to do something, or maybe that's professional services. But now you have individual contributors being like, screw it, I'm just going to whip up this GPT and send it to my customer. And it's like kind of a unofficial thing, but like now the customer can just put some stuff in there and get the output they need, and now they're good to go. Like, we bridge that gap. So whether it's official or like, again, individual contributors sort of doing it on the down low isn't the point. The point is we're able to do that now, and we really couldn't do that before. So it's, if we think about what are the controllables, how can we sort of eat the complexity for our customers? All these things lead to understanding how to get our customer closer to that value realization, so that if they do that, they're like, okay, I want to stay. And then it's like, well, now that I've done that, oh, I see how this other thing that I had sort of written off, and I was looking at other vendors, now I actually see how this could be beneficial to me, right? So now I'm not just getting them to a position where they want to buy more of my product for an upsell. I've positioned them to actually be successful. And the side effect of that is now they're positioned to maybe extend their relationship with us and maybe, buy more from us, with maybe the promise that at some point we won't need this workaround. But the workaround maybe doesn't feel as much of a Band-Aid as maybe in the past, where we tried to do some clunky stuff. Maybe it's like, this is actually pretty cool. I feel good about this. Product will eventually catch up, but for now, this is good enough. And again, maybe that's enough to get a customer to go, at least some subset of customers to go, yeah, I actually think I want to expand my relationship with this company. They are trying to help me. I know that product development is a little bit slower, but the CS team is really coming through, and I feel good about this. So, control the controllables and eat the customer's complexity. And if you just do those two things, like you're probably going to be in a much better place for all the things that we're talking about.
Awesome. Lincoln, as I'm thinking through this, and I'm like, okay, I want to bring Lincoln in FY26. Upsell is going to be a big move for us. I'm going to ask you like 3 questions in a row here.
Okay.
So question number 1 is, does it matter if my CS lead the charge on the upsell or if my direct sellers lead the upsell? Does it matter?
Yeah. It matters who orchestrates it and makes it happen. Who closes it is not as big of a deal if you do the other things right. So what I mean by orchestration is what I call sort of operationalized expectations management.
Okay.
We're saying to a customer, hey, and there's a specific way that you need to do this. It's essentially there's this progress milestone at some point in the future that you're going to hit. Now, we wouldn't say progress milestone. We would say something that's meaningful to them, right? So if I have a CRM, let's say when you close 10 deals through our system, we'll want to talk about adding our AI SDR feature. You guys don't need that. You don't need, it's awesome, right? But you don't need it right now.
You don't need it right now.
You're not ready for it. But once you've closed 10 deals through the system, it'll tell me, like the data is all clean. The systems they're all functioning right. The business rules are in place, blah, blah, blah. So we'll talk about adding it to your account when you get to that point, but not right now. Is that fair?
That's cool. I like that. That's a great tip. Okay.
And that's how you do it, by the way.
That's awesome.
Now,
I like that. Makes sense.
So then when you do that, it's like, hey, you guys, you just closed your 10th deal. That's awesome. Let's talk about adding that AI SDR module so you can accelerate your growth.
Right.
Cool. Now, if I was going to have to bring in the original salesperson or a different, account manager or something to close the deal, I would have said that originally. I would have said, now, when you get to that point, we'll bring in Larry. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I'm not going to bother Larry right now, and you don't have to talk to him until then. So then we get to the point where, like, you guys want to talk about adding that AI SDR module to your account? Cool. I'll let Larry know. He'll reach out. You guys will talk about it. You'll come back. We'll get you onboarded with that, and we'll get you going. Now, Larry's probably going to try to throw in some other stuff too.
Of course.
That's fine.
That's what Larry does.
Right. And that's fine. And I can even be explicit about that. By the way, Larry, sales guy, right? He's going to probably try to add some other stuff in, but you might get a good deal. So it's just, whatever the situation is for the reality for your business, we have to work around that. Now, if a CSM can just push a button and add it to their account, like, cool.
Yeah.
But if we have to bring in somebody else, just orchestrate it.
Leon, awesome. You passed with flying colors on that one. That was a freaking nugget. I hope everyone paused on that one.
That's so good.
I blacked out. I don't even know what I said.
Okay, Leon, number 2. Here's question number 2 for you. Where would you start with me if I have equal amount of customers in enterprise and equal amount in my SMB, but my SMB is more tech touch. I have like one CSM for 500 accounts, whereas enterprise I have an enterprise CSM that's handling like 10 accounts. Again, I want to make immediate impact. You can't say the word depends. Which one would you come in here and suggest we start with? Would you start with my enterprise CSMs or would you start with my digital CSMs?
Well, first of all, I would ask ChatGPT for a list of synonyms for "it depends." Look, what I would do. So I won't say it depends, but I want to understand like what's the issue, right? And what business do you want to be in? So this is the thing.
Great question right there.
Right. I mean, you want to optimize around enterprise customers. You want to optimize around sort of product-led growth. Like I don't know. Let's talk about that. So we'll start there, and that'll tell me where we need to focus our attention. So it does depend, but it's not just it depends situation. It's like, let's figure out what it depends on. And what it depends on is what you're trying to do. So if you want to build out this part of your business, all right, cool. And if it's like, well, we want to build out both, it's like, okay, do you have the resources to be able to do that? Because a lot of times we want to do multiple things, but we don't have the resources to focus on multiple things. So let's focus on the thing that's going to have the biggest impact, not just short term, but I mean, if you're trying to build something out, like it depends also on like, how quickly you want to make whatever changes. So that is a trick question that I cannot answer without it depends. But there's ways. I would want to just understand what you're trying to do. What do we need to prioritize? Another way I like to say that is, what do you want to deprioritize? That's my favorite. That's like my favorite question. It's like, cool. What do you need to deprioritize to make this happen? Because that makes people go, oh,
that's a great thought.
Yeah.
There's stuff I can actually stop doing. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Right. Because most of the time, so let me just add that to the list of equal priorities.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what are you actually going to accomplish? You're not going to actually do anything. So,
Okay, I like that.
all right. So that was not,
That's okay. That's all right. I won't give you the 5-star rating like the first
no,
question.
no.
Like, okay. And then the last one is, I'm going to get pushback from my CS team because I'm all about relationships. And the minute I start mentioning about upsells, I lose my ability to be a consultant.
Yes.
How do you answer that one? What would be your feedback?
All right. If you're trying to sell the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, you are going to hurt the relationship. If you withhold something from a customer that they need in order to be successful, because you don't want to be salesy, you're hurting the relationship with the customer. So what is the relationship with the customer? Nobody is under any delusion that this is not a commercial relationship. So go ahead and just like forget about that. Like and I'll give you a clue. Your title has customer in it, customer success. So that if you need like a touch point to go back, a touchstone to go back to, like, oh, right, this is a commercial relationship. But that's the thing. Like nobody is thinking that you're just their friend, right? Or I mean, if you think the customer is just your friend, I hate to break it to you, but they're not, and you may want to talk to somebody about that. But like, yeah, we're in business, and so. But the thing is, upselling hurts relationships when you try to force things into a situation where it's not the right time, it's not the right person, it's not the right thing. So I don't believe in quotas for upselling, where we have sales sort of owning the upsell relationship, meaning that they're going to come back in and close the deal. We put in very strict guardrails that
Why is that? Sorry, Todd, I asked.
Oh yeah. No. Let's
I
make sure.
that. I want you to dive deeper into that one.
Yeah. If you're a customer, so I'll give you an example. We had a really big. I'm not gonna name names, but we had a really big customer support product company that we use. We had an account manager reach out. It's clearly this was a sales guy, right? And he originally reached out to talk about moving us to an annual contract, and we would save some money, and that's cool. And he went on vacation, so we were trying. I was kind of slow rolling him because I was also talking to our internal guys, and there were some things we needed to work through. And he came back and was like, "Hey, we can save you like $15,000 a month, or not a month, $50,000 a year." And I was like, "Okay, I mean, sales pitch, cool, okay." Well, he went to someone else in the company, and he ended up talking to the CEO, and so we were on our executive call, and then they were like, "Hey, let's bring in the guy from this company to talk to us." I'm like, "Okay, cool, fine." Like, way to skip level me. I don't feel disrespected or anything like that. No, I mean, I was slow rolling. I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do. So we get on the call, and he goes, "So are you guys growing really fast?" And we're like, "Yeah, I mean, we're growing pretty good." And he's like, "Because you guys are using 300 times as many credits for this AI feature as you were last month." And we're like, "Oh yeah, we're not growing that much." Like, what? And so we dug in, and it turns out we had activated the AI feature for one of our support channels that we had not previously activated it for, so like over email. And we ended up getting a bunch of spam emails, and it was picking up all of those. Anyway, like, we had like a $20,000 bill. This call quickly turned into, "Oh my God, what?" No, like, this is horrible. So we started digging into it, looking around, figured out what kind of had gone wrong. And then he was like, "I'm going to go back and talk to our finance department, see what we can do there." Cause clearly we had been working with them too. So we'd gotten some not so great advice. Anyway, okay, cool. We're still kind of in panic mode. And he goes, "So anyway, let's talk about getting you onto that annual plan." And I go, "Dude, not the right time. Like, let's solve this situation right now where we have a $20,000 extra bill from you." Like, it was just like, way to just, like, come on, man, read the room. Like, so I lost a lot of respect. I lost a good amount of trust. And I kept my language somewhat safe for work, but I was like, dude, go fix this. Then we can have a conversation. So that's an example of wrong time, wrong place, even if it was the right product, even if the thing he had to sell us was the right thing for us, it was absolutely the wrong time. So that hurts the relationship. If he had solved this issue and then we came back and we got on a call and he's like, guys, we just solved the issue. We credited you back $20,000. Your team is working with our support team. Everything's cool. We got you. We're not going to, if anything like that happens again, like we'll make sure we're more proactive, blah, blah, blah. Now, like, let's make sure actually that doesn't happen by getting you on this annual plan and you'll get an account manager and all this stuff. That would be a better time. So it's not the fact that they were trying to upsell us and get us on, in this case, get us onto an annual plan. It was just the wrong time. It's like the right people, the right product, the absolute wrong time. So if you try to sell the wrong thing to the wrong people at the wrong time, or just a couple of those, like you're going to hurt trust. And that's what happens generally when you have salespeople that sort of own the commercial relationship with the customer and there's no guardrails. They can just sort of be like, oh, I'm not going to hit quota this month. I can dip into my bank account, as they'll often say. It's like their existing customers, and they'll just blast their customer list. And this is when CSMs will hear from their customer being like, why is the sales guy reaching out to me when we're dealing with this issue? And it just makes the CSM's life harder and the customer's pissed off. And it's not good. So if you're going to have sales involved as a head of CS, you have to put in, this is where you have to advocate for your team and even advocate for your customers. And quite frankly, stand up for yourself with sales, which is not always easy, but like we have to do this. And it's not an us versus them thing. It's just, this is protecting everybody that you're responsible for, your team, your customers, yourself. And that is to say, there's some guardrails here. Sales can only work with our existing customers if we've orchestrated that opportunity and we've surfaced it with the customer and then with sales. So if you have that guardrail, got those guardrails in place, then you don't run the risk of the customer trying to, or of the salesperson coming in and trying to sell something to the customer without the context of like, whether or not they're successful, whether or not they have open support tickets or anything like that. So it has to be very deliberate, but it's totally doable. And then for the salespeople at that point, they're like order takers. So if you do this right, they actually love that because they're out there trying to bring in new customers. And then all of a sudden, every once in a while, they get a ping from us like, hey, here's an order, go take it. And they'll do that and they'll probably add something to it. And then we get a LTV boost and everybody's happy. The customer got what they wanted, maybe even got something they didn't know that they needed, but maybe got a good deal on it and we're good. So it's everything has to be done deliberately. And I think that's the thing. And I started out by saying a lot of times expansion is just done with hope. And what happens then is you don't have those guardrails. You're not being deliberate. It's not going to happen in a consistent way. And when it does happen, it might happen in a way that does hurt trust because there's those guardrails don't exist. So we might end up trying to sell the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time. So
I'll give you 5 stars on that one, whether Casey will or not.
All right,
I like
we're
that
done.
one a lot, Lincoln. Yeah.
I'm going to end on a high note.
One of the things that I love there that you mentioned is the fact that I think a lot of times the whole idea of the right time is a really big deal, but like the story there is probably hits too close to home for a few folks who've probably stepped into the hornet's nest thinking like, oh my gosh, this customer's killing it. Look at their adoption. Look at their usage is so great. And then it turns out that they misread the data. They misunderstood what they were looking at there. And so what are some, do you have some ideas of what we can do to know when it's really the right time? What are some signals that are going to help you avoid bringing up the upsell conversation, the expansion conversation at the wrong moment?
I want to know, like, okay, product usage is great, but it's just one signal. Is that product usage something that's adding up to actual progress? Is the customer are they doing things that are going to result in them either achieving their goals or making progress towards their goals? I always say progress is the stickiest feature. Like if a customer is making progress, That's the thing that really matters. Now, what is progress? Progress is going to differ from one customer to another, or differ depending upon like what you do for your customer, what your product does, right? But if we go back to the CRM example, a customer, I want them to get to closing 10 deals through the system. Well, through onboarding, which is functional, technical, and administrative in nature, the progress there is just kind of getting everything up and running, right? After they come out of onboarding, they haven't gotten any value. They might see for the first time the value potential in this thing, outside of what we promised in sales and marketing, but they haven't actually received any value. So then we need to move them through other progress milestones where they start using it in a way that's moving them towards getting real value. So they eventually start closing. They close a deal. All right, cool. That's, they closed one deal. So we kind of have an idea how the system works. They've achieved some actual value through the system. We start like, or continue to refine the system, change the business rules, make it better. They get to that, closing 10 deals through the system. All right. Now, what's really cool though, here's the thing. What I want to do, if it's a higher touch experience, but even if it's not, if I can do this through some sort of product led mechanism, I want to know what their average deal size is, because I want to be able to tell them, not that they closed 10 deals through the system. And I could probably see this in the deal size, but if I don't have access to the actual data in their account, if they told me ahead of time that their average deal size was $10,000, then I know that they've closed $100,000 in new business through our system. If I can remind them of that, call attention to that, I don't have to sit here and do an ROI calculation. Like it's like what they pay us is probably minimal compared to $100,000 in new revenue. Like that's going to be a huge win for them. So I'm going to speak to them in their language, what matters to them. In this case, it's closed deals, new business, that kind of thing. If closing 10 deals is sort of the trigger for an expansion conversation, I'm not just going to be like, all right, let's add this thing to your account. I'm going to say, hey, you guys have achieved this milestone. Remember, we talked about the most logical next step for companies like yours was adding this AI SDR module. But let me ask you a few more questions. I'm going to do some more discovery. I'm going to figure out, is this the right time to bring that up? I'm not just going to jump into the sales pitch. In fact, I'm not trying to sell them anything. I need to make sure this is the right fit. So, what other sort of discovery needs to happen? And you could call it qualification questions or whatever, but I just want to understand, are you ready for this thing? And if I were doing this, and how I recommend people do this is I want to ask those questions in such a way that I get them to want this. Yeah. For them to like sell themselves on this thing. So I'm like, cool, I'll add it to your account if you want. I want you to want this. And then when they say, yeah, like, let's do this, then I can bring in, who was it? Steve, or I can, Larry. Yeah, Steve he's on a different account.
We let him go. He wasn't.
Yeah. He's not great. Anyway, Larry's good though. I like Larry. He's good. He's a solid guy. Family man, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, it's just
walking into an organization and you're working with an account and you're dealing with their CS leadership. What's maybe the top 2 misconceptions that these CS leaders have about upselling? I'm sure there's common threads that you deal with when you're coming in there to consult with someone. You're like, okay, hey, let's build out your upsell program. Are there 1 or 2 things that people always say to you where you're like, yeah, that's not true?
That it's sales, that it's just purely sales, and that it doesn't work. So number 1, the misconception is it has to be this sales push. And like, hopefully what I've just described there kind of shows you it's really just about managing expectations with the customer, letting them know that this is the thing that you'll need when you get to this point, taking it away and saying, you don't need it right now. Do you know how much trust that builds with somebody when you say, I have this thing I could sell you, but I'm not going to. You don't need it right now. When you need it, we'll talk about adding it to your account. And then I say, is that fair? And they go, yeah, that's fair. That's like the most fair thing I've heard all day. Like, I can't believe that happened in a business conversation. Like, yeah, I'm not going to let you have this right now. I wouldn't sell it to you if you begged me, because you're not going to be able to use it. But once you're ready for it, we'll talk about it. Okay, that's one thing. So it's not sales. If I have to bring in the salesperson, that's just because that's a sales owns revenue or something. Like it's just that's the structure of our reality. But again, if the CSM or other individual contributor can just push a button and add it to their account, or the customer can push a button in the app and activate it, like do that. Like let the customer buy however they want to buy. Let's make that super easy to get revenue. A lot of times we make it more difficult than it is. The other thing is it doesn't work. I will literally have people bring me in who are like, I need you to help us expand revenue. Okay, cool. But expansion doesn't work here. Like, okay. Then why am I here? Like, why do you think I don't work magic? And you start digging in. I'm not a jerk. I mean, I push a little bit, but I'm not that big of a jerk in real life. And I'll push back a little bit, and they'll say, well, okay, I mean, like we've tried this before, and it didn't have the results that we'd like. Okay, cool. Let's talk about what that actually looked like. And what it almost always looked like was either the salespeople leading the charge, and we had some sort of quota-based system, probably with less with a smaller commission on expansion sales. So you kind of you get what you pay for, and you incentivize the behavior that you get. So if I'm telling you, the only way to get new deals from our customers is to just go after them the same way you would new business. And by the way, you're going to get paid less. And by the way, our mindset is expansion deals are always smaller than the initial deal. That's just who I'm just going to go over here and focus on new business because that sounds like a nightmare. But what will happen is you will have some salespeople blast their customer list. So they're trying to sell the wrong thing at the wrong time, and you'll say, but who cares? Like if you have 1,000 people and you email them all, and it only only 10 of those people are going to be in a position to buy, who cares? Like the 990 people that got the message, they'll just ignore it. Yes, you've just taught them to ignore you. You've just taught them to ignore messages from you, and all it took was one email to show that you don't have a clue what's going on. That's fantastic. So now when the customer success manager or somebody else is trying to engage the customer, they've either blocked you or muted you, or they've just learned to ignore you.
I try to tell the Todd, this is why I don't respond to him anymore. I've tried.
I mean, it just keeps on, right? Just keeps wrong time,
I just
wrong
sent you
place.
7 texts, Casey. Come on. Jeez.
Only 7. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's like it's really interesting. The whole we tried it and it didn't work. Well, I hesitate to say that you even tried. You just blasted your existing customer list and it didn't work. But even if that was trying, the reason it didn't work is because you were approaching it like new business sales. New business sales. So I like the double the dual engine approach of new business sales and expansion being something that works together. I want sales guys, honestly, if I had my way, salespeople would focus only on bringing in net new business, because that requires such an insane skill set and mindset, and like more power to salespeople for doing what they do. Like they're going out and inventing business out of thin air, or getting some people that have sort of raised their hand and then turning those into customers, with all sorts of psychology and scarcity and fun stuff like that. Cool. That's probably required to some degree, even though we want to pretend like it's not. We can just do all these GTM motions and everything's cool and blah, blah, blah. That stuff is still required. If you take that and you point that at your existing customers, you are, number one, you're just doing stuff that is not required. And number two, you're doing things that are going to hurt trust, because those things that you need to do with people with whom you do not have currently a commercial relationship are just things you absolutely don't need to do and shouldn't do with your existing customers. So we need a different approach. The different approach is orchestration and pegging any sort of expansion discussions to the customer's actual progress and hopefully success. Success, if it takes a long time for a customer to actually achieve their success or their goals or whatever, then it's just progress. As they move along and they're becoming better at what they do and moving towards their ultimate goal, or maybe their goals are always shifting and they never actually hit their goals, and that's fine because they're changing them. Not, it's not like we're causing them to fail to reach those goals. Then at least the progress is happening and they're reaching those progress milestones and they're expanding. This is a very different approach. And so when you have salespeople talking about expansion, it's almost always just, let's just point the new business methods at existing customers. And when you have customer success people talking about expansion, it's almost always incredibly passive. Like, let's just take orders. I'm like, well, no, there's a different way to do this. I'm not going to be passive. In fact, I'm going to be very proactive and orchestrate this, but I'm not going to do it in a way that makes the customer feel any sort of pressure. If I'm doing anything to pressure them, I'm pressuring them to make progress. And I will put pressure on customers to make progress. I'm not here to, like one of the things that was said earlier, I'm not here to make customers happy. I'm here to make customers successful. And sometimes we have to push a customer out of their comfort zone, help them get out of their own way. So there is a time and place for pushing on a customer, but it's not to sell them more. It's to help them make progress. Now, as part of that progress, they might get to a point where expanding makes the most logical sense.
Okay, Lincoln. There's been a lot in here today, which has been awesome. I mean, I think my big takeaway is, be upfront with your customer about the milestone and let them know that you want to sell them things when they're ready, and focus on progress and winning. I think those are all so many good things there.
Awesome.
Lincoln, at the end of each one of these, we always ask our guest one final question. And so, this is SaaS therapy. So
okay, here we go.
The thing is, a lot of people go through these sessions. And I think they listen to these conversations and they just feel like, my organization's broken. We don't know what we're doing. We can't figure out where we're going. But hopefully the first step in any good therapy session, you start to recognize is what's wrong, right? But what does every good therapy session end with? Homework, right? There's got to be something we're going to do differently. And so if you could act as a therapist today and give our audience one piece of advice, one piece of homework that they can act on and move and implement into their approach today, what would your advice be?
So normally I would say, I'm going to have two pieces of homework here, but they kind of piggyback on each other. One is progress milestones. And really just progress. What does progress look like for the customer? Like, very often that is not something we've mapped out. Very often I'll go in, even like onboarding, which is the most structured of the lifecycle stages. Very often I'll come in and even that's not really mapped out well. So like, what does it take to get a customer from where they are today, maybe, or where they're, when they're just starting out, to the point where they're going to reach their goals, so like a success plan, or literally just a list of the steps that are required. And that'll give you a lot of visibility into not only the steps they need to take, but what do they need to do inside the product, outside the product, things that they have to do on their own that you don't have visibility into, all that stuff, things that you'll do for them behind the scenes. Like, you need to understand that. That's probably the main thing that's missing in a lot of cases. And it's really kind of funny because, not funny, haha, funny, tragic, and funny, sad. But like, if you don't know, so progress is really what we're trying to solve for with our customers. And if you don't know what those progress milestones are, then what are we doing here? Like, I'm not trying to be, it's not trying to be hyperbolic or anything like that. But if you don't know what success looks like for your customers and you are in customer success, you kind of need to take a look at what you're really doing here. I'm not saying you're not working hard, but we're probably not solving for what we need to be solving for. Now, within that, understanding the progress milestones that our customers are going to go through. With AI, how can we eat more of the customer's complexity along the way? Like, that's a new thing. That's a thing that a couple of years ago, we might have talked about that, and we could have tried to eat the complexity with additional training or maybe some consulting or professional services or partners or whatever. But now it's like, what could we do that our customers are dealing with right now that's stopping their progress? What could we do right now to like solve that and allow them to make progress faster? I bet there's something right now that you could do in a GPT or in a cloud artifact or whatever, and just get customers to make progress faster than they are today. But you have to know what that progress looks like. Okay.
Well, everybody go freaking make some progress.
That's all. Just make progress. I'm not asking for much, guys. I'm a very simple person.
I love it. Lincoln, so glad you joined us today.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, if you don't know Lincoln Murphy on LinkedIn, go follow him. I would assume he would appreciate a follow. And
I'll take it.
if you can prove that you have value, then maybe he'll follow you back. I don't know. So what?
Oh,
Sorry,
man.
what's the progress milestone?
The progress
Hey,
milestone.
Lincoln,
Yeah.
if I follow you and I say good stuff, then you'll follow me back.
Hey, if you comment on my LinkedIn post and you're not just using AI, you're not just a bot.
Yeah.
Maybe
Nice.
I would follow you back. But
There you
Nice.
go.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. This was awesome.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Of course. Thanks, Lincoln. SaaS Therapy is brought to you by Brainstorm, the SaaS platform for SaaS adoption. Learn more at brainstorminc.com.